Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's session on outcome-based education. My name is Nagamani, Assistant Professor from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering in Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering, Nellore. We completed the 5-day session on OBE, and I hope every one of us got an idea about how to define our own COs, Bloom's taxonomy, and mapping COs with POs, and setting of question papers in the view of AICTE. So I think these are all new to most of us. And as a teacher, we must gain knowledge on this outcome-based education. So yesterday I shared examination reforms PDF document to your respective mails, and I hope you all referred it for today's session. So without wasting any more time, I welcome our speaker and presenter, Mr. Nagpavan sir, to hand over the session. Sir, welcome, sir. Nagpavan sir.
Madam, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, sir.
Madam, is my voice audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
It is audible, sir. Yeah, sir, it is audible.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, sir. Thank you.
Madam, shall I start the session or shall we wait?
Yeah, you can start the session, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening to the organizers, the participants. And today, we are going to see how a CO is going to be correlated with PO, because earlier we used to have a simple mapping. So just we used to keep a tick mark or just saying this, placing some 1 or 2, some number or some symbol like that. We used to complete the CO to PO mapping. So we used to have a matrix, a row column matrix we used to have, and using that, we would like to make the things to happen. But the scenario is a little bit changed here. So we want to talk about to the intensity of what a CO is going to be mapped with PO. When you talk about this intensity, to what extent a CO is contributing to the PO has become a greater importance. To see how it is possible, there are different aspects. So normally, till to date, what we have seen is the majority of the people. So when you are teaching a course, I will take my course, and I will also take all the POs that are being approved in the department advisory board meeting. So mostly commonly, all the POs are nothing but the MBA mentioned POs. And unless they are being redefined on our own. So if they're not defined, okay. If it are being defined, we have to see that those POs are getting properly mapped with the graduate attributes. And otherwise, we need to work on the POs. Fine. So once the POs are being approved in the department advisory board, now it is mandate for us to see that the course that we are teaching has the COs, and these COs has to be get mapped with our POs. So how the correlation we need to bring. So to bring to the correlation here, in majority of the cases, what actually happens is we are going to record. We are going to take the two things here. First, we will write our PO on the paper, or you use a machine. Just you will write our CO and we will write our PO. So there are 5 PO, 4 COs or 5 COs, whatever it is. Now we are going to look for the keywords in that CO as well as in the PO. So I will share my screen right now here, and one example also, so that we can better understand what exactly it is. And now by looking at that, we will come to a conclusion. if only the introductory part is being considered, so that means only the basic portion of the content is being considered in that, then we will say that particular CO is getting mapped with that particular PO as the basic. So I'm sharing my screen right now. Hope it is visible to all.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah. So I took only one CO and one PO because we have to do the same process for every CO with every PO that are available. So this is one CO. I am just right, and I will start comparing. So what are the keywords that normally I see? So here the CO1 indicates that the students will explore and interpret the characteristics of functions using graphs, tables, and simple algebraic techniques. So the keywords here with respect to the learning. So what the students are going to learn are the functions, and the functions are going to be understood based on the graphs as well as the tables and algebraic characteristics of functions. So like this here, we mentioned for characteristics of functions using graphs, tables, and simple algebraic techniques. Now here, how this particular comes, that means to talk about the interpret the characteristics of functions means the students should know the concept of functions, and after that they should know the characteristics of the function. So the topic about functions is also equally important. After teaching the functions only, we'll come to the talk. We are going to talk about the characteristics of functions. Now here, the basic thing that comes into picture is, so we are talking about functions. Is the functions topic included in the syllabus? So that is the first thing that will get into the mix. Normally, so when you're teaching at the first year, definitely we'll have the topic of functions. If the topic of functions is not available, you are going to impart the topic of the functions using a bridge course. So somehow we are going to fill the gap. If it is not available, it is a gap. So gap is going to be filled with a bridge course. And that bridge course is going to make the students to learn. Sometimes what happens is, we are going to have some advanced course. So when it goes to the advanced course, definitely we need to see that the prerequisites are being dealt earlier. So if the prerequisites are dealt, not a problem. If the prerequisites are not dealt, now to make the students to better understand that advanced course, we need to provide either a bridge course or we need to have some content beyond syllabus. We need to make the students to be given. But here the content beyond syllabus, normally we talk as an advanced part, but not as a prerequisite. So that's the reason why it is always advisable to have a bridge course to be imparted to the students if the prerequisite course is not available earlier. So by somehow we'll come to the conclusion that the functions is already been taught to the students. It is known to the students. Now we are making the students to interpret the characteristics of functions using three different things: the graphs, the tables, and the algebraic techniques. So the making of the students to learn up the functions is also our job. To make the characteristics of functions to understand, we are going to make the students to talk about, that means learning about graphs, tables, and the simple algebraic techniques. Now, to which there are 12 POs that are available, and we have one PO that we considered here. So this is more related because the PO1 is mostly talking about the engineering knowledge, where the concept of mathematics, science, engineering fundamentals, engineering specialization is being used to solve complex engineering problems. So now here, in general, we are talking about the functions is been there. So the functions is the topic of mathematics. So I'm talking about subjective-based correlation. In the subject-based correlation, the functions topic comes the part of mathematics. Then next, the graphs, tables, and some algebraic techniques that also comes under some engineering fundamental concepts, and they can be used in engineering specializations also. There is a possibility. So from this side, there is a possibility, except in the science, in all other cases, the functions can be considered mathematics, and we can also talk about the functions in engineering fundamentals. We can also talk about the engineering specialization. The functions can be dealt in the engineering specialization. Normally, this topic can be used in solving engineering complex engineering problems. Hello? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, maybe something. Now here,
sorry, sir.
Okay. Now, normally what actually happens here, ma'am? Now we need to see that. So we need to see that what kind of correlation that we can expect on our observation basis. So the functions, this is the topic using the talking about characteristics of functions using graphs, tables, algebra techniques. This is the topic that is possibly be discussed in the mathematics and possibly be used. The characteristics of the functions can be considered, will be used in the engineering fundamentals, in engineering specializations also, that means in the allied areas, normally we use them. And that means here, except in the science, in majority of the cases. So in the science, normally the usage of functions, the characteristics of functions, and this topic is considered a little bit less in our curriculum. So maybe there will be possible, but here, when compare all with respect to mathematics, engineering, and specializations, so our curriculum, what kind of what kind of correlation we can expect? Can we say it is a low-level curriculum, low-level correlation, or a moderate correlation, or very high-level correlation? Can anybody share your thoughts in this particular insight? What are your thoughts? Whether it is a low-level correlation we can expect, because by looking at the two statements, so the functions can be used in the mathematics, and the next the engineering fundamentals, engineering specializations. So in all the three there is except in the science, but among there are four possibilities we have. In that four, the three are majorly working. So what from my side, what I say is the CO1 is having a high correlation with respect to the PO1. So I would like to award either H or 3. I would like to award either H or 3. H means high correlation. 3 indicates in the numeric representation, 1 is lower correlation, that means slightly. The next 2 is moderately, and 3 is highly. So I would like to prefer there is a high correlation of CO1 with the PO1. Now, many times there is a debate that is going to happen. Now, how we can say that this correlation is going to, here the situation is very easy for us to understand. But majority of the times the situations are not going to that much easier for us to come to the conclusion that the CO1 and PO, the CO and the PO are having apt correlation. Some of the our peers will say that, so one CO is going to have the CO will have the high correlation, and some of our colleagues will say that no, it will not, it don't have the high correlation, it is going to have only the moderate correlation. And when we discuss the same with our some of our colleagues in another institution, they will say that in our institution we are considered as a slightly, but not either moderately or highly. There is a big dilemma that comes into picture. So which one we need to finalize? The measure of the thing is, are we in a position to justify the things or not? So if anybody asks us, if a NAC accreditation team or the peer visit team, whoever we talk about, either NBA or NAC or UGC in case of autonomy, whatever it is, whoever comes here, we need some concrete methodology that is being adopted to come to the correlation value. So if we say high, so what has made you to say that this is high? Because this CO-PO correlation is going to be taken care by the faculty who teaches that particular course, and that faculty is going to find what in what fashion that particular CO is correlated with the rest, the POs. So this particular correlation is not being given by our university. University is not going to provide us. So if an autonomous institution, definitely it is a responsibility of the autonomous institution to see that this correlation has to be fixed. But for the affiliation institutions, there is an advantage, there is a disadvantage also. The advantage is here, there is no necessity for them to ponder much more on drafting their COs, because the COs are now available along with the university provided curriculum. And the only thing that comes on the side of the institutions are they need to see that whether what kind of POs that we need to adopt, either the NBA POs or the POs that we framed. So as we discussed earlier, many times we deliberated, it is advisable to adopt the POs in toto what the NBA has given us. So if you are much interested in the subsequent continuous improvement phases, then we can redefine them. At this moment, based upon our gurus, whatever being told here, whatever being trained here, so the advisable thing is better to have the NBA mentioned POs to be accepted, to be considered for the program-wise POs, because they are being very common to the every engineering program. Okay, fine. The POs have been fixed. The COs are given by the university. The POs are given by our NBA, so National Board of Accreditation. Now the thing is here, how the correlation. So this is the major part. this correlation is not going to be finalized so easily because they are going to be varied from one institution to another institution, person to person, faculty to faculty who are working with that particular course. So from that particular perspective, as shown in this particular screen, so based upon the discussion, based upon the available evidences by looking at these particular two statements, my conclusion is, so the functions are majorly used in mathematics, obviously, engineering fundamentals, definitely, engineering specialization, so obviously they don't mix. So that too, in what fashion? To solve complex engineering problems. So when you talk about complex engineering problems, the level of complexity is very high. We have seen in one of earlier deliberations, complexity mean we are going to apply the deep learning levels to make the engineering problems to be solved. So deep engineering learning levels are required. Without that, it's not just surface level engineering is not at all sufficient. Deep engineering learning levels or deep cognitive levels, we can say, they are required to solve those complex engineering problems. So in that particular scenario, definitely the functions are one particular topic that we use in majority of the scenarios. So from that side, what I can come to the conclusion is subjectively by looking at the two statements are, so the CO1 is highly correlated to the PO1. Fine. So some people may accept it, some people may not accept it. So to solve this particular issue, some researchers and some educational technologists, they are try to use some mathematics to bring some numbered correlation to be finalized with the help of the probability. So here I'm trying to present here. There is some correlation that I'm trying to establish. Yeah. So this is the correlation. I'm trying to find some words. So functions as one word, and the graphs another one, tables as one, and the algebra. The same thing, what subjectively I identified, the same words that I consider as A1, A2, A3, A4, or you can say B1, B2, B3, or K1, K2, K3. So it is your choice. Then next. So how these words are getting mapped with the keywords of the PO1. So in the PO1, we have the keywords like apply knowledge, it is concept. So we're talking about application of knowledge, fine. So application of knowledge of what? Mathematics, science, engineering fundamentals, and an engineering specialization. So we're talking about some specialization. So how the functions are going to get, how A1 is getting mapped. So A1 is the functions are getting mapped with the mathematics, getting mapped with the engineering fundamentals. They are being mapped with the complex engineering problems. So no doubt about it. So when it comes from the graphs, so the functions with the graphs, so they are used in the mathematics, engineering fundamentals, and you can also use them in complex engineering problems in some other manner. Then next, the functions with the tables, in the same fashion here, we can use in the mathematics, engineering fundamentals, and complex engineering problems. Then next, coming with the tables, so the algebra also the same situation here. So the functions along with the algebra can be discussed in mathematics and the engineering fundamentals and complex engineering problems. So this is what actually we have here. Now what I try to do here is, let me bring some probability, compute the probability. So there are 4 different options available with me. So here the functions I can take as 1 by 4. And for graphs, I can take it as 1 by 4 and 1 by 4 and 1 by 4. Totally, the consideration that I have is 1. So that means here the PO to CO to PO1 is considered as high correlation. So somehow, whatever the subjective mechanism that I observed, that subjective measure is being quantified through probability. And from that one, I'm coming to the conclusion, the CO to PO1 correlation is considered to be high. Now the thing is here, when you talk about probability, the probability values always range from 0 to 1. So how to distribute the values so that the value from so and so to so and so is considered as no correlation. And similarly, if we can take, allow me to share some other screen. Yeah. So is the screen visible to you? The probability values mentioned.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here, if it is 0.4, that means that the probability that we obtained is less than or equal to 0.25, I will consider that one as no correlation. If it is greater than or equal to, so these values are our consideration. So there is nobody is going to asking you how you need to fix the value. These values are based upon how we need to see the correlation. So that's what, because here that depends upon how our students are working in the institution. This is the basic thing that we need to consider. So the city institutions, they are having a different scenario. So from their perspective, the complex engineering problems is a different scenario. But when it comes to the rural institutions, looking at complex engineering problems is a different scenario. When you talk about the students getting a job, looking at complex engineering problems is a different scenario. So that means here the perspective is going to change. If the students are going for a job, so by the way they look at complex engineering problems are different. So what is our basic motto? We want to see that the majority of the students who pursue the graduation in our institution has to be placed in the multinational companies. Majority of the technical institutions have, this is the objective. So multinational companies, in sense, definitely they should be in a position to work globally anywhere in the world without any hassles. So whether they are being in the city institution or in the rural institution, it is not at all a concern. They should supposed to get what they are supposed to according to the needs, what they are supposed to gain. So from that side, we have to deliver the curriculum to the students. So here, the complexity of the engineering problems are going to differ from one perspective to another perspective. So if you want to see all the students to be placed in only multinational companies with more than 15 lakhs of package, so our standards are very high. When the standards are very high, definitely, so our correlation levels are going to differ a lot. Let us see, our students has to be placed. Okay, I have 60 students in my class. I want to see that at least the 50% of the students to get a multinational company, and the remaining people, either they are going to be gainfully engaged or they may be doing their higher education. If you look at from that particular perspective, then this is a different scenario. So that means here, this probability correlations are the values which you are going to fix based upon the available scenarios at our end. So that's the reason why here, this is a sample one that the many researchers has worked on this, and they propose this is the one which is more comfortable. So less than 0.24 considered as no correlation, greater than or equal to 0.24 and less than 0.5 as considered as correlation 1. It is slightly correlated. If it is greater than or equal to 0.5 and less than 0.75, then considered as 2. If it is more than 0.75, then consider the correlation as 3. That means there is a high correlation. So the PO, the concerned CO, is highly correlated with the PO. So that is what we need to consider. Like this, we have to pursue this particular scenario. So this is the probability method that we can use to see that we can justify. That means here somebody will ask, so what is the justification mechanism that you have used to say that, yes, this particular CO is being very highly mapped with this particular PO. Yes, we have worked on this particular thing. Subjectively also we can explain, and also mathematically we can draw some conclusions from the CO PO statements, and from that one let us compute the probabilities, and the final probability whatever we get, that makes to give the conclusion to what extent a CO is being mapped with a PO. So whether it is slightly, or there is no correlation, or it is slightly, or it is moderately, or it is going to be high in nature. So this is what the CO-PO correlation is majorly about. And if you are able to, so every course, every faculty who teaches the course, my advice is, because when it comes for the CO-PO correlation, the basic problem that comes into picture is, it is a PO matrix cannot be built on its own. So there are many things we have to start from the course level. So first we are going to define the courses. The next, once the courses are available with us, we are going to look for the COs. So once the COs are being drafted, we are going to see whether the COs are as per the mechanism what we followed. The mechanism is there should be some action work, there should be some subjective, and there should be a condition and a limitation. So we have to see all the three. All the four we need to consider while drafting our CO. Yes, so the COs are drafted as per the needs of the students, and accordingly the curriculum we have seen, accordingly the course statement is given, and how the competency levels. So we also discussed in the previous session, in the yesterday session, the competency levels and the program indicators. So what kind of program indicators that you like to have? When I shared our content, the course which I taught, program for problem solving. So in that particular course, you can see the unit 1 talks about the fundamentals, the introduction to the computers. It talks about the algorithms. It talks about pseudocode, and also it talks about the the basics of the C language. But here, when it comes for the testing, we're not going to consider the basics. The basics are not being considered here. They are being kept aside. The focus is given for the competency level is the student should be able to draw their pseudocodes. The student should be able to write their pseudocodes. The student should be able to draw the flowcharts. So that means the application is the only concern that we have given here. So like this, some people may say, sir, forgetting testing without testing the competency levels of the C language, then how it is possible for you? Maybe there are some programs. If you look at this particular course is associated with the laboratory. Maybe there are certain programs may be given, some experiments are given to test these things which we don't know. So that's the reason why here we cannot come to the conclusion directly. So we have to evaluate thoroughly. Then next, once the course has been evaluated, it is a responsibility of the faculty who teaches the course of the entire regulation. See that their courses has to be properly correlated with the respective POs. Once it is done, let us bring the semester wise the course matrix. So let us have your POs been addressed in take an Excel file, and let us PO1, PO2, PO3 like that, all the 12 columns. And now one by one, please add the courses and the respective COs and how they are being mapped with, how CO1 is mapped with so and so. So like this here, we can have the entire the CO to PO correlation matrix going to be built. Once that entire matrix for the entire program has been built, it takes nearly 200 or 300, like, because we will include the laboratories also. We can include your mandatory courses. Nowadays, in the R18 regulation based upon the AICT model curriculum, which is released in 2018, they are insisting the institutions to impart the value education through the mandatory courses. So in some other cases, the mandatory courses are used in soft skill training as well as the industry training, so that they can reduce the gap what actually the curriculum to the industry has been existing. Like this year, they are using the mandatory courses also. But however they are being used, we can have the mandatory courses also be considered in the attainment process. So whatever the course that we impart. Now there is a big debate once again happens here. The big debate is, do we need to consider only the theory courses? Do we need to consider only the theory? No, not at all. Whatever the courses we are going to impart, those courses can be considered here. If we don't have the value, for example, if we take in JNTH, there is one course called gender sensitization. After the issue of Nirbhaya, so the throughout the use the ministry MHRD has initiated took the initiation to make every student to be given with the concepts, given with the basics of that means the need of the gender sensitization, respecting the gender each other. So this has become, the gender sensitization has become a very prime concern. Like environmental sciences is one of the course earlier in 1990s. So the UGC has taken initiative to see that in every undergraduate course, there is a need to have a curriculum, a course called the environmental science or environmental, some kind of environmental conscious course has to be imparted to the student. Like this year, now when it comes for the credit-based system in this affiliating system, especially engineering, so accommodating a new course by keeping a very important course aside.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, whether you changed any slide, it's showing COPO correlation only.
That's it, man. I'm not changing any slide. I'm just sharing
okay,
the.
Yeah.
So I'm just sharing the views. What actually happens when it's working.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So I'm not showing.
Okay. Sir.
So these are the things normally happen. That's the reason why I'm sharing. Yeah. So what actually happens is here, the things are going to be a little bit different. So we cannot include gender sensitization as one of our core course or elective course. Sometimes some basic science on the humanities and sciences never comes into picture, because the engineering curriculum is designed in such a manner that it has the basic sciences, humanities, core engineering, and the next basic engineering, and the next electives and the open elective. This is what the pattern the CBCS choice-based grade system is talking about. So in this particular scenario, we are talking about, there is one PO which talks about the value-based, the society, the engineers are responsible to the society. So when they want to be responsible to the society, they should know how the society is existing and the prevailing situations, because the society is not going to be the same every time. It will be moving. So in that particular scenario, based upon the changing needs, the simply looking at the word society is not going to do the job. So we have to see that what are the changing needs, how the state governments or the central governments or the world is looking at the society. So from that particular perspective, we have to make this correlation. So those courses can also be considered. Now, so for mandatory courses, we don't have any examinations. So the students who will attend the maximum, that means if they can put attendance, then automatically we are going to say that the students are successfully completed that particular program. That means that particular course is completed, because it's a 0 credit, but still we are going to impart. But there is no curriculum for the value education. Some people may say that, sir, it is not possible to map our courses to some POs. Some POs are from top to bottom. If you look at here, no, completely there is no correlation that is available. We cannot leave the POs without any correlation. Somehow they should be mapped. Every CO, that means that every PO has to get some correlation with the COs. That means here the POs needs a correlation with the courses that we are teaching. If the courses are not available, we have to find the courses. That's what I'm talking about, the student portfolio in the last session. So if it is not available, let us build a student portfolio. And from that particular student portfolio, we need to make the student to gain that, and let that portfolio be mapped with the POs or the PSOs that you are talking about. So I understand this particular CO-PO correlation. One example is maybe making you to good sense of it, because high correlation. So this particular values that you can decide by discussing in your department as the advisory board meeting. Anyhow, tomorrow we are going to discuss about what is the administrative setup that is required in the institution to implement the OB, outcome-based education. So in the where how the committees has to be formed, what are the names of the proposed names of the committees, and how they need to work, and that we'll see in the tomorrow session. But today, this is the mathematical justification that we can give about the CO-PO correlation. And the subjective also we can do. Nobody is going to question us why we are working on a subjective basis. But when you are making it, we should be in a position to answer to what extent it has been possible. Or if you can spend time, this kind of correlation is always be very useful for us. And we can also present in a better way how this particular CO-PO correlation is going to happen. So my advice is, let us have your COs. We'll take one simple course. Don't work with the very complex courses, advanced courses. So my suggestion is, initially it is to start with the basic courses, the courses which don't require any prerequisites. So, and nobody will inform us, nobody is going to tell us how the courses, there is a course prerequisite chart. So every program, though nobody is insisting us, but my suggestion is, try to have a prerequisite course chart to be drafted, to be designed by. So where we are starting, normally we start our curriculum with the first year, first semester. So first year, first semester, what are the courses that you are imparting, and how these particular courses are going to serve as basics to the prerequisites to the next level courses. So if they are newly starting in the semester, it's not a problem. But here, try to have your own prerequisite course. Having a prerequisite course will help you in finalizing this POs, the CO-PO correlation in a better way. So that means here, if some topic is not available, just now I told you, if you look at here, so there is a particular scenario. Here, you're talking about the students will explore and interpret the characteristics of functions. Is functions included in the syllabus? So when you're looking at CO and PO, you don't see only the curriculum itself, course curriculum itself, we can say whether the topic of functions is included or not. So that's like that here, we are talking about characteristics. Do the characteristics are being considered? Are you talking about the characteristics of functions using graphs, tables? So just we are talking about functions, then how can you talk about the characteristics of functions? So there should be a curriculum on characteristics of functions. In one of the unit, it should be included. As we are talking about CO1, definitely in the first unit itself, we are going to have the concept of characteristics of functions. If it is PO, this is a different scenario, but it is a CO. It's our curriculum. We are owning our curriculum. So in that side, we have to see that the characteristics of functions is included, and then only it is a possibility to talk about the interpretation. Interpretation is possible at the time. Otherwise, the interpretation is going to be a little bit difficult. We cannot make it to be possible. So this is a mechanism to talk about the COPO correlation. So with this, I would like to complete this particular presentation, and I want to show you how the student portfolio has been built. In some institution, I found in majority of the institutions, no, they are not interested in building this student portfolio. But here, in some here, the activities what the student do in the college. So those activities are also been considered for the COPO, that means PO realization. So they're not. If the student organizes some NSS camp, they participate in the NSS. Okay, include that one also into the PO attainment process. The student participates in the games, include that one also PO attainment process. How it is possible? How can you measure it? So let us build a rubric. Yesterday we have seen how to build a rubric. Let us have the indicator on the vertical, horizontally, and have the attainment scale. So poor, excellent, like this, our feedback, how we will take. Now the benchmark. So how many people are able to cross the benchmark? What is advisable one? So on a 10-point scale, if you say definitely 9 and 10 are considered good advisable and the rest are not advisable. So if that is the case, definitely the minimum attainable value on the scale is 9. So like, or if you want to fix 7, okay, 70%, fine. Let us have 70%. Like that, we can have our fix, and the subsequently there should be a mechanism. So whatever we fix today, that should be revised in the coming years. So our plan is not going to complete today. Accreditation. This is also I observed mostly, and many a times we have taken pains in making the institutions to work with the COs and POs. That many things. Once the NBA inspection or the NAC inspection is completed, okay, fine, keep off everything. Okay, we'll relax. Once again, after 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, once again we start doing. At that time, there will be no one in the institution. There will be many faculty will be changing. The old faculty will take all the burden, and the new faculty, they say we are not trained in this one. Once again, the problem of attainment process comes into picture, and the things will be very haphazard. It is not possible to bring the things under control. So once again, it will become a big fiasco to the management. And because everything is unmanageable, after 1 year, the data is growing. The mechanism that you adopted is brought lot many changes here, and we kept everything aside, and the NBA is looking very closely, or the NAC will be observing very closely what kind of developments are happening with respect to the student learning process. So today they are not insisting, but tomorrow definitely they will be insisting us. So it should be a continuous process. Though you keep the boundary, the benchmarks low today, so we have to see that these benchmarks should move towards the high value. So that is equal. That is very important one that we need to focus on, especially for the head of the departments and the program coordinators. The head of the departments will think, I'm sorry to say, please no one don't take it to the heart. So when you are the head of the department, so my suggestion is you have to see that no one is going to tell anybody. The principal will say anything to us. They will say, please do the work and complete the work in time, so that the everything is in respectable place. So from that side, the HODs and the concerned department faculty has to see that this particular process, OBE process, whatever we talk about, that should happen. And every time, let us have an yearly plan of it, according to that yearly plan and a semester level plan and a micro action plan. So if you have these particular plans, it may take time, but once you fix it, that is going to become very easier in making the task to complete in time. So whether the faculty will be moving or all the faculty will return, it's not a problem, but the action part that you have been built today, the foundation that you are laying today is going to work for many years. So like this here, today we are talking about Oxford University. The people who work for the Oxford University during its establishment. But today we're talking about many generations has gone. Still, we talk about Oxford University. Are we making our institution to be like, to see like after 10 years? When we started with a World Bank project, we got a person from, his age is nearly 74 years. Though we have lift in our institution, he's never interested in taking the lift. He used to walk, he used to climb the stairs so fastly as the younger person is going to do. So he's that much fit. And he says that, yes, I'm a civil engineer of young age. So at age of 74, he says, I'm an young age. And he says one thing, are you teaching the standard education? Standardized, that means standard education in the sense, The standards that are opted in the industry are being considered in the institution or not. And then next, second one, to what extent the learning process is being measured? Are you measuring the learning process? If you're not being measured, whatever the work that you do is going to be totally in futile. So the people will be lurking here and there. So that will be a big problem. And end of the day, the problem comes to the heads, the principals, and the management. So instead of that, if we have our own foundation, and the question that he asked us is, how many years you are expecting this institution is going to sustain? It's a big question which I never expected. This has happened nearly 7 years back. How many years you are expecting? How many years when you are working in an institution, we'll be looking with the different opportunities. We'll be looking at different ideas. We have different cultures. But end of the day, he's asking a question: are you owning your institution or just working for the institution? So if you want to have the reforms to be taken care in the institution, we have to own the institution. Nobody will consider it. Many people will say it is a not thing, it's right thing. It is not an attitude, right attitude. There are many questions that will happen. But end of the day, when you are talking about reforms, definitely we have to accept our institution as our own. Then only it is possible to see that the reforms can be implemented. And if any trouble comes into picture, because as it's our own, we all join our hands, because we are being committed with the teamwork individually as well as working in the teams, and we have the leadership capabilities. We can make the things to happen. So allow me to share that particular presentation, and later we can conclude this particular session. Please give me 2 seconds time so that I can open that particular presentation, that particular Excel file where the realization is being happened. Ma'am, sir, is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay. So this is the course level attainment for the mapping, and how the mechanism is being there, the CO attainment that we can see here, the direct attainment, and they have given some distribution here. Just look at this particular PO part, only these columns. The CO1 is mapped with the PO2 and the PO4 with high level correlation. So the faculty who taught this particular course has to take the responsibility in making this correlation of CO1
Sir, can you please zoom in the screen, sir?
Is it okay, ma'am?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you.
So this is a one course, ma'am. So we call it as CP. Is it okay, ma'am? Because it is not fitting in my window. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay, sir. Yeah.
Fine. So C program, if you take, ma'am, the faculty who dealt with this particular course, they have to take the responsibility in making this particular market. So what the mapping is, the correlation. So we need to find this correlation based upon take one CO and test with the possibility subjectively. Every time it is not mathematical puzzle. You check to which particular PO it is getting mapped with. So wherever you find that the resemblance with respect, that means the mapping possibility with the CO to the PO is been available, shortlist those POs. Now we apply the mechanism, the probability mechanism that I have shown you, so that we'll come to a complete conclusion how in what level a CO is going to be correlated with another PO. So like this here, we can finalize this entire set of things. Now, if you see any PO, if you look at any PO, there should be a complete level that we need to observe. All need to be considered. We cannot leave any PO. Every PO somehow we need to consider. So all the courses are considered here. There are a big list we can see here. The labs are also included, the seminars. They left nothing. Whatever that has been, even the comprehensive Viva was. So they left nothing. Everything has been included here. And finally, so they computed some percentages, and these percentages are used for the final overall attainment process. Then next, exit survey. Anyhow, we are going to find the counts. So with respect to PO1, how many students, one or two students participated, and out of this one or two, 55 are mentioned, very important, and other 22 like this here. The summarization is being done, and some based on this, and they also included the PS was also. So nowadays the PS was also equal importance. They are following working on this. Then next, using rubrics. Through rubrics, this is a rubrics mechanism they follow to get this particular conclusion. Then next, similarly, so number of based upon the employer feedback they applied. So how many employers? 10 employers are involved. So attainment process, what they have seen is 60. So okay, fine. Then next, they never left anything. Co-curricular activities. So we are talking about imparting co-curricular, we are making the students to participate in the co-curricular activities. They made the co-curricular activities also be included in the attainment process. So normally we do with the courses and we do with the lab, the theoretical courses, the practical courses, and we will conclude. But now they are not leaving that. So exit surveys, employer survey, courses, all will be there. But the co-curricular activities, the student participation, that also considered towards the attainment process. And some attainment levels have been computed here. Then next, they are not going away from this co-curricular. They are including the extracurricular activities also. So some components, sports and games, yoga, cultural activities. So for that particular batch, this is also considered. And some attainment levels are computed for this. And not only that, NSS and NCC is also considered. So they're having NSS and the NCC boards available in that not board census, not the boards at what that means the camps that have been approved by concerned authorities. And accordingly, so the students who have been awarded with B and C grades, they are the high reputation grade certificates given in the NCC. So C certificates have the greater impact. So maybe the C certificates are less. We don't know what exactly has been happened. They included even B also. Normally, A certificate will be obtained in the first year of graduation. B and C will be given in the subsequent years of the graduation. So they process the attainment. And the placements and higher studies also included as a process. Then next, now the student portfolio. So now the portfolio is designed. Co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities, and the attainments what they got here, they are getting mapped with the POs and the PSOs. And then next, now the overall attainment process has begun. So the direct attainment, how it is happening, the indirect attainment, and you can see some attainment values you can see here. So direct attainment, program exit survey, employer survey, that we are already doing. But apart from that, the portfolio component is also being involved. So that is the beauteous thing that we can see here. So this is a great one. And there are many assessments that we have seen, but this is the one which is created. That means whatever the activity the student is performing, all those activities are being addressed here. So nothing is being left. Every activity of the institution has been recorded in the attainment process. So we can say in the beginning of the session, when we started our session on 29th, I think, the madam said, sir, we need a holistic understanding of this. So this is the holistic OBE that we can see here. With this, I think already it is more than 5 minutes than the scheduled time. I say sorry for taking more. Yesterday's situation also. And I'll conclude the session. If you have any queries, you can contact me, or you can contact through ma'am or Mr. so that we can address the issue. And if anybody needs the help in working with the COPO and like that, with the help of ma'am and Mr., we can work so that the POs and COs correlation can be completed in a very smartest way. So I thank all the participants, I should not say the faculty members and the erudite personalities for patiently listening to me. So the majority I covered with respect to the OBE. If anything is required, tomorrow I will include them in the session. For today's session, I will say thank you.
Thank you, sir. Actually, we got a question in chat box from Ravi Shankar, sir, from Mechanical Department. Sir, is it necessary each CO must be correlated with all POs? This is a question.
No, it's not possible. It's not possible. Every CO
it's not
cannot,
possible. Yes.
Every CO cannot correlate. Every CO it is not possible. We have to see that once all the courses included in the matrix, we have to see that every PO must need some kind of correlation with the courses. They should not be leaving off the POs.
Yes.
So vertically we have to see. Horizontally, somehow definitely each CO will map with some PO. But vertically, when we see from PO wise and the PSO wise, definitely there should be some correlation to exist. Every PO definitely will be mapping with more than one course.
Yeah.
One more question I got.
Any other have any queries, sir? Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir. So, thank you, Nagpavan, sir, and thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow by the same time, sir.
Nagpavan, sir.
Sir.
Nagpavan, sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Sir, actually, my staff members are requesting
for
the mapping for every program. For example, computer science, one subject, select one subject, and for ECE, one subject. For every subject, the mapping between COs and POs, at least one subject in every program. Our people are expecting from you, sir, next tomorrow's class.
I need the inputs, no, sir. Without the inputs, it's not possible.
What are the inputs required? Please.
I need COs. I need the COs.
Okay, sir.
So because I need to work at my level first.
Nagamani ma'am, you send the COs for only one subject in every program.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Sure, sir. I'll send.
Tomorrow, sir will explain how we are mapping in that matrix, COPO matrix.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Please, sir. You don't mind, sir, because our people.
Sir, Pavan, sir.
Ma'am.
We got another question from in chat box from Jaipal Reddy, sir. How to give the values like 3, 2, 1 to COPOs?
That is what we discussed right now.
Yeah. Yes, actually.
We discussed the same thing.
So the high, moderate, and low.
Yes, one indicates it's slightly, 2 indicates moderately, 3 indicates the highly, and that can be given with the help of the keywords that are being getting matched from CO to the PO that we have. So the number of words that have been, this is the normal mechanism in general, by looking at the CO and by looking at the PO, majority of the PO, what I observed. So they are not working on a what we call the justification level basis. By looking at the okay, if you talk about modern tool usage, the model tool usage with respect to the engineering drawing, let us take the mechanical engineering faculty available. Engineering drawing is one such course. So model tool usage in the engineering drawing. So what can we expect? We have some COs. So we'll be looking at the students to complete it. But when it comes for the model tool usage, are we using AutoCAD? So this is the first question that comes into picture. Yes, there are certain people who are using AutoCAD to see that the engineering drawing, that means the paper is being kept away and the students are being trained to work with the engineering drawing sessions through AutoCAD. There are some institutions that have been happening. So that means the model tool usage comes into picture here. There is a mapping of engineering graphics with model tool usage. Earlier it is not there, but today we made it. So that depends how the course is being designed and how we are imparting. So that's the basic difference.
Pavan sir.
Sir,
So if we need, we can extend the number of days also, sir. But the satisfaction of the teacher is very, very important for you, sir. That's the reason I'm
Okay, sir.
requesting you. So if
Definitely.
necessary for more 2 to 3 days session also, we will extend, sir. But at
Okay,
the
sir.
last day, all people, they can attain their subjects at their own, sir. That is the requirement for this program, sir. So I'm
Sure.
requesting you for this one.
Definitely, sir.
Okay, sir.
If you can provide me with each program, so how
Yes,
many
sir. Yes, sir.
programs you are having in the institution, and the next the how many courses that you're looking at from
Yes,
each
sir.
program, and because sometimes what happens is I need to work with my peers also, because I'm strong with my course, because I'm from computer science engineering. I can understand each and everything with respect to computer science engineering. Holistically, I can work from top to bottom in computer science engineering.
Yes, sir.
But when it comes to civil engineering or some electrical instrumentation engineering, it will become very difficult for me.
Yes, sir.
So I can work only from the side of only looking at the birds.
Yes, sir.
So the justification relies mostly on the faculty who deals with the engineering, the electronics and instrumentation engineering.
We can do one thing, sir. The subjects, computer science subject, you can select, sir. If you have any, like EDC is there, EDC subject also there for computer science people. So you can you can advise us in EDC also. In that way,
In
you
this
only
case-
identify the subject, sir.
No, sir. You give me your subject so that, because instead of taking mine, there is a possibility. It's a kind of match fixing. So people will say, sir, you are just giving what you know.
Yes.
So instead, if you give me the question so that I can give the solution.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. At least 1 or 2 subjects from each.
Definitely, sir.
Okay,
Definitely.
sir.
From computer science itself, ECE.
Okay.
So
Okay.
whatever it is possible, I will try, sir. Even from other programs also, I don't have any problem. But
Okay.
I can expect some error, 20 to 25% error may be there.
No issue,
So,
sir. No issue, sir.
that-
We
that
can
should be
rectify.
considered.
We can rectify that. We can eliminate that error, sir.
Yes,
No
sir.
issue. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall I conclude?
We'll
for
meet
today?
you tomorrow, sir.
Sure, madam.
Yeah,
So
yes, sir. Yes,
can
sir.
you
Let's
provide
conclude.
that syllabus copies in the PDF form, so that
Yeah.
will help me with COs, the syllabus copies with COs. And are you going to follow the same NBA POs, or you have your own POs?
The same NBA PO,
So
sir.
it's the same NBA POs. You don't have to copy. But if you have your own POs, then it will be. I need those POs also.
Yeah. Okay, sir. The same NBA POs we are following, sir.
So kindly share your courses which have been selected by
Yeah.
you, so which have been shortlisted
Okay,
after
sir.
having a discussion at your end, and so that once I can
Okay.
get that, please send a mail rather than WhatsApp, if possible.
Yeah, sure, sir.
If not, I don't
Yes.
have any problem, but it will take some time.
No, sir. I'll share through mail, sir.
So,
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
It's really a great session.
hope it is useful to many.
Yes, to everybody whoever attended. Thank you, sir.